This episode of Housing for Good is brought to you by listeners and supporters just like you. If you believe in creating safe, stable, and affordable housing for everyone, consider supporting the McPherson Housing Coalition. Your donation helps us provide housing solutions, support services, and hope to those who need it the most. To donate, visit our website, McPhersonHousingCoalition.org. All donations are tax deductible. Thank you.
Welcome to Housing for Good, a podcast dedicated to housing topics and issues affecting our communities in McPherson County and beyond. With years of experience and expertise, hosts Chris Goodson and Karolyn Moore discuss housing challenges and opportunities with other experts from a variety of housing fields.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
So, Chris, what kind of news do we have today?
Well, we've been watching really closely the bills that are going through Congress and the Senate. So we have a lot of concerns there. We've always said that, our families struggle. And so when you start cutting food assistance and Medicaid and all those other things, if you're already struggling, what's that going to do to our families?
Yeah.
Are we going to end up with hundreds and thousands of more homeless? Will there be no change? I really don't know. We just have to hope and pray that whatever happens isn't going to be significant enough of an impact that it really hurts our families. And I'm really hoping that the people out in the communities, maybe this podcast today will be an eye-opener a little bit for people to determine, maybe I need to step up and start helping and not rely so much on government assistance. I don't know what this answer is here.
We're in that season where you are supposed to apply for your grants. And so we've been doing that. That's the money that we have to help people with rent or utilities or legal or...
also we know that some people are always going to struggle. We have somebody right now in the cottages who has a wife who's very, very ill.
Yes.
And he's pretty much lost everything trying to take care of her. He is going to need help.
Yeah.
He's lost it all. He needs help. I was just sitting or writing an article for something and looking at the families. We had somebody that had lost everything in a fire, and we have him. And these weren't necessarily anything that anybody did wrong. It's just circumstances.
Yeah.
So now we're pulling out the rug from these people and what happens. That just kills me.
Yeah.
Thinking about what that could look like. And there's thousands of people out there in the same position. So anyways, that's our depressing news for today, I guess.
Yeah. So we've done our applications. We've sent everything in. Now we're waiting to find out how much money we're actually going to get to continue the programs that we have been doing for a number of years now. And we've said before, there are some years where you have enough money, it feels like, and other years where the grants are a little tighter. So you do what you can with what you have.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are watching the bills that are going through and trying to figure out how is this going to impact me. And then you have to listen to the news with a grain of salt because sometimes they don't even know. So you just have to.
So anyways, we're just going to watch and listen and hope that we have what we need. I know we live in a great community that always seems to step up when we need things. So we actually have a challenge grant right now for a project we're working on. So we have a donor that said if you can raise $200,000, we'll give you $100,000. So if anybody's out there wanting to donate toward the Southern States Permanent Supportive Housing Project, that would be amazing. And there's another way that we can help people in our community. So,
absolutely.
If you want to do that, that would be great. And the only other news, I think we have a meeting coming up, which it'll be probably over by the time this runs, but that's June 29th, I believe. We'll be doing a community meetings again to talk about where are we with all this stuff? What are we doing?
July 29th.
Yeah, July 20th. I'm still in June.
I know.
I'm not ready for the summer to come to an end yet.
That's going to be the next one. But then when we have our housing conference in September, September 25th, we're going to have another one of those meetings with stakeholders that want to talk about housing. How do we move it forward?
Right.
What does it look like? How do we work together?
Yeah.
Those meetings will be ongoing.
And it's like herding cats or something.
Yeah.
You just let them go, and they all go in different directions. Everybody has a different opinion. I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I bring these people together? It's
I know.
interesting. But anyway, so let's get on to the conversation today. What are we talking about today, Karolyn? Do we know?
Okay, well, yes. So today we are going to talk about what happens when communities don't invest in housing.
Okay.
Because the reality is doing nothing still has a cost. And in many ways, that cost is even greater than action. So when we think about who should be building housing in the community, is that private development? Is that something the city is trying to do? Mm-hmm. Who controls that? And what does that look like for rents? You know, that's part of what this bill that our congressmen and representatives are trying to sort through is the president has said he wants to cut $40 billion from HUD's budget. And so, HUD is housing and urban development, which is housing. So what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I know that if we do nothing, all of those costs are going to move to other things. So if you can't afford housing and you're not stable, the emergency room becomes your doctor.
Yeah.
People have to use those social services more when there's no stability. So one way or another, communities are going to pay for it. I mean, they think that, it's somebody else's problem or whatever, but it's not. I mean, it's going to be a problem. Law enforcement pays for it. Schools pay for it. Somewhere that cost may not be up front, but on the back end, there's going to be a cost to your community. So I think it's really important that we look at this and how are we going to address it and what are we going to do. So, there's a lot there, and we have to look at that very, very closely.
Well, and one of the things with our community meetings that we're having about housing is zoning. How are the ways that places, cities, areas are currently zoned, how is that restrictive to housing or how does it encourage housing? Because if you can't build where there's space because of the way something is zoned, that takes a process to get those zoning laws changed.
So we've talked a little bit about inaction, but what about the hidden costs? What does that look like, Karolyn? What are those hidden costs that, like I said, the emergency room, how much is that costing our communities?
Well, for a homeless person, it's costing taxpayers anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000 a year. And that is in crisis services, jail time, ER visits, anything that you or I take advantage of because we have housing that they don't have. That taxpayer is going to pay for that because that person that's homeless probably doesn't have an address. And the hospital has no way to track them down. So that bill gets written off. Well, that's not written off. It's passed on to you or I because we have insurance and we can pay for our portion. So it raises the cost on everything. And then you think about, there are times when homeless people get arrested. Well, there's a cost involved in that. And maybe they didn't do anything wrong, but it's going to impact the jail. It's going to impact the court system. And if they did do something wrong, then there's a cost that's involved that they have to pay fees and fines that they can't pay. And so that starts a whole other cycle of...
Right. And also, we talked about this yesterday. We had a group visiting who toured the Oak Harbor cottages. And foster care, we always forget about foster care.
Yeah.
So if you're homeless, a lot of people don't ask for assistance because they're more likely to have their children taken away. Instead of offering assistance, those kids are taken away. Well, that's thousands of dollars to the foster parents to take care of the kids. All of that is a cost to the taxpayer and to all of us for to take care of that family, whether we're going to... It's cheaper to house them. It's about $20,000. That's a national average, $20,000. Yeah. In our community, I don't think it costs that much. I was sitting there trying to think in my brain how much it costs. I mean, our cottages, there's really not a whole lot of cost to them at this point because it was a donated project.
Yeah.
So we have the cost of maintenance and repairs, and we do feed families when they need it until they can get back on their feet. I don't think we're spending $20,000 a year on families in our cottages.
With our tenant-based rental assistance program, I know that we have helped a couple of families in the time we've had that for the full 2-year time. And I can tell you that they pay 30% of their income towards the rent and utilities, and that program pays the rest. And I think the maximum that program has ever helped one person over the course of a year was maybe $12,000.
Yeah, $12,000.
That's deposit. That is a monthly rent, So if you look at that, to house them is way cheaper than having them be homeless.
So then we look at the economic toll. We also lose momentum when it comes to local economies. Employers can't recruit workers if they can't find affordable places to live. So what does that look like when people are not living here and they're having to drive in, even for our manufacturing? I think I looked the numbers up today. I don't have my notes like they're supposed to be, but but I looked up the notes here. And so it says, as of 2022, 3,402 residents of McPherson County work in the manufacturing sector, a significant portion of the county's total population employment of 15,700. So right now, plastic manufacturing and equipment manufacturing are the two largest manufacturers. Of course, we have the refinery that's not included in this. But hundreds and hundreds of people are driving into McPherson every day.
Yeah.
So if we don't have affordable housing here, what happens is they take that money and they drive away.
Yes.
So we don't get anything to do with their income. We don't get any benefits from the sales tax unless they're buying something before they're leaving and going back home. Their kids aren't going to school here. So we're losing that as well.
Yeah.
So not addressing the affordable housing, even though the people in the manufacturing probably make decent money and they're not living here, they're taking that money and driving out of our county with it. And so that's really...
Well, and I guarantee everybody that works here would like to live here. I don't think anybody enjoys an hour on the road or, 45 minutes on the road to get to work and then the same going home. But it affects everything from hospital staffing to manufacturing and school enrollment. I think about our police officers and our firemen. If they get called in, where do they live and how long does it take them to get there?
Yeah.
And then to get there and then to respond to whatever we're needing to
I want
have
my
done.
police guy to live close, don't you?
I do. Yes,
I want all my people that are going to be here if I have a fire or police or somebody's trying to rob me. I need them to be here right now.
Absolutely.
I don't want them driving in from far away. I need them to be right here. And so I think it's really important that we not only build affordable housing for different levels, but we have a variety.
Yeah.
So everybody's not stuck having to live in a cookie cutter. Maybe they want a bungalow, or maybe they want a townhome, or maybe they want, there could be a million different things they want. So I think it's important to not only build for our economy. So affordable housing is not just about people, but it's about your economy.
Yeah. How
can we increase your economy and make it so that people can live in your community and you can benefit and they can benefit from that housing?
Yeah.
We really are missing the boat on a lot of this. And people think, oh my gosh, if you build this, terrible people are going to move in. Well, you need people of different varieties to be able to fill the jobs you have.
Absolutely. I don't think there's a restaurant any place in town that doesn't have a help wanted sign on their door.
I know.
So I have a full-time job. I don't want to go wait tables to keep that restaurant open.
Yeah, me neither.
But I want to be able to go to that restaurant and eat. So
I don't think you want me waiting tables either.
Well, it could be a little scary.
It could be bad. What did you have? Okay, you had the what? You had the what? Have you ever had the guy that waits on your tables and he has everything all memorized and doesn't write anything?
That blows my mind.
I know, it's
crazy. How do you remember what I just ordered?
I need that guy to have affordable housing in my community.
That's right.
I want him to stay where he is because he's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and then, the one thing we haven't talked about yet is if you cannot afford the rent, we've heard of families that are staying in a motel.
Yes.
And they pay by the week because that's what they can afford right now. But that is not a place to live.
Well, and not only that, but they never get ahead because that weekly rent, if you add it up, is more than it would cost to rent a place.
Yeah.
But because they can't get ahead, they can't catch up, they can't get enough money for a down payment, a deposit, first and last month's rent, or however that works now. They can't do that.
Yeah, they're just stuck.
They're just stuck. I like being able to, not that I'm a big cook in my house, but I like to be able to go to the refrigerator and pour myself a glass of whatever and eat a bowl of cereal in the morning and have that available, and have all my things in my house.
Well, and I'm still amazed when I get a phone call from somebody that says they're living in their car.
Yeah.
So as much as we want to say we don't have this going on in McPherson County, we do. It's happening. And then we have the mom or the single dad. Maybe they're working 2 jobs and they can still not afford the rent. It's like, how much more can a person work in one day to try to make ends meet?
Yeah.
If I'm working 2 jobs, is that 16 hours? Is that a job and a part-time job? 12 hours? Like, how long of a day do I have to work in order to pay for my rent? I did see somewhere, I was looking at a report this morning that said in Kansas, the average pay needs to be $20 for you to be able to afford rent.
Yeah.
And it was higher in other states, but it's like, oh my gosh,
and if you have a single parent without maybe a high school diploma or limited opportunities, they're never going to make it to $20.
Yeah.
So if they have a spouse, then more than likely they're going to be fine. But there's a lot of parents out there raising kids on their own, working as hard and as much as they can. And then, of course, daycare is extremely expensive. So now you just wiped off half their salary unless they can find a family member to help take care of that child. It's snowballing, and I don't think things are getting any better. I would like to see personally daycare where people would pay based on how much money they have. Yeah. That's my next big dream. We want them to pay 30% of the income. We need to figure out how to get daycare more affordable for families. And all of that is important. But right now we're talking about affordable housing and constructing and why it's important. So not investing in housing isn't just about saving money. It is really losing opportunities in your community, in your county as a whole. We are really missing the boat when we're not expanding our housing on the affordable side. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next time you want an IHOP in your community, like they've been talking on Public Right to Know or whatever that is. Oh my gosh, look, we need an IHOP. Who is going to work there, people? Yeah. Who's going to work in this IHOP that you think that we need?
Well, and even if there are people to work in that IHOP, where are they going to live? Because, our city is building what they consider moderate housing that starts at $259,000.
Yeah.
And that is just an amount that is out of reach for a lot of people. And then the other thing that we've been hearing through different avenues is that if you're carrying a lot of student debt, you don't want to buy a house. You want to rent. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be responsible for the yard or the maintenance or whatever. And so that's another piece that's missing. Are we building rentals?
Yeah.
And how do we get that kind of housing started? Who's going to do that?
So I'm doing a lot of rental properties lately, and 2 bedrooms are going for $1,500.
I know.
And I'm like, they're nice. They're really nice properties, but I'm like, ooh, $1,500. I live in a pretty nice house and my payment's not that much.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine paying that much for my housing costs. $1,500.
Yeah.
So what's happening? I want to know what's going to happen to all these single families if we cannot figure this out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just terrible. So let's talk about the human side a little bit. So what happens? What kind of a message are we sending, about people? Are we saying we don't care about people, that too bad, figure it out? Mm-hmm. I always hear that economics, they pull that a lot when we're talking about affordable housing. Well, the economy will fix itself. That's what everybody thinks, highs and lows. But it doesn't work with affordability because somebody out there has to make a profit, right? You're not even I as a business owner, I'm there to make a profit. I admit it. I want to make money.
Yeah.
And so if I can't make a profit, I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm not. Yep. I'm not going to do it. So we have to figure out a way to make sure that our investors can make a profit because otherwise they can't. There's no way to keep the rents at a decent level, be able to afford to construct that project and to be able to make any kind of money out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I worry that we're sending the wrong message to our kids about how much we care about people.
Yeah, we only care about you if you're able to support yourself.
Yes.
You're able to take care of yourself. Yes. And if you need anything, sorry, we don't really care about you. And that is not who we are as communities. I find McPherson to be a very caring community. I think we have other wonderful communities in McPherson County. and there are people that care. So we just need to make sure that our policies are matching the values that we as community members hold. And so if you're hearing this and you think that you could have some sort of an answer or be a part of the solution, please give your voice to communications meetings that are going on, so we can find out a way to fix this across the city, the different cities. We've heard, well, why should this community care about whether that community is growing? Well, the truth of the matter is each of our communities in McPherson County have a unique personality. There's just something special about them, whether it's events they do or the way their main street looks. We want to foster each of our communities and put housing in all of them.
Yeah, it's really important that we work together across the country to try to find solutions. And, we're hoping, McPherson Housing Coalition, we are really hoping that our tiny home village is a solution. So we talked to somebody yesterday and we said, we believe that if we could get this model replicated across the country, we could end all of this. We'll never talk about this again. We'll get rid of the podcast. We don't need to do it anymore because we figured it out.
Yeah.
But people are going to have to take action. It's not just up to the cities and the counties and the federal government anymore. People are the churches, the faith community, whatever that looks like, whatever groups you're connected to, we all are responsible to be a part of the solution. We can't expect it's somebody else's problem. Well, there's people sleeping on the beaches in California. There's people, I saw a person in Alaska huddled by a building. When we were in D.C., we weren't in the middle part of D.C., but on the outskirts, we saw somebody by one of the restaurants we were at. This is going on everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So it's not like it's one person's problem and not somebody else's. We've had people in our small community living under bridges. They were camped over by the library. They've been huddled by the churches. Moms are sleeping in cars. This is all of our responsibility.
Yeah.
People need to get involved. So what does investment look like, Karolyn?
Well, what does it look like to take action? So we have our own emergency shelter cottages, and now we are building the Sutherland Estates. And it's a very slow process. We've only got 7 that we're working on, only 2 that are left to get finished to some point. But, you have to build the house for the person, and then you have to give them those wraparound services to help them be stable. Is there a mental health issue that needs to be dealt with? Is there some sort of a physical situation that they have a disability? Are they on a very limited income? And what kind of maybe job training could be angled in to suit the needs that they're able to have, the whatever talents and skills that they bring? So it takes a lot of wraparound services. It takes a lot of time and a lot of care. It's not something that can just be done overnight, but at the same time, we have seen it be possible to move families forward, help them be successful, and eventually they don't need your help any longer because they're doing it on their own.
The other thing, too, I think people overwhelm themselves because I'll hear somebody go, well, our big plan is to build 300 units and do all this and that. That is not necessary. If you got a little bit of land, like we had, I think it's about 150 by 150, the Oak Harbor cottages where we have 10 smaller homes. That's made a huge impact. 10 homes. Now, granted, we don't have the problem as some of the bigger cities.
Yeah.
But you don't have to build 300 homes. Start with 10. Figure out what you're doing, what works in your community, and move forward. Talk to your city leaders. Do we need to change the zoning? Do we need to convince your neighbors that this is a good idea? I mean, I don't know how many times I was yelled out in the middle of the street. I'm kind of used to it at this point. And why I'm always alone when these things happen. I think people think I make this stuff up, but no. I mean, this is really people driving down the street. We don't want this. And I'm like, too bad. But I know I'm terrible.
But once they see it come to fruition and they realize what a value it is and how it's helping, and it's all of those boogeyman terrible thoughts that they thought was going to happen never materialized.
Right.
So now they're going, okay, wait a minute. They know what they're doing. This is a good thing.
Yeah.
So then they turn around and they start to support. So
start small.
Yeah.
Go to your organizations. You know, we got the Optimist, we have churches, we have the Kiwanis. I don't know what you have in your community. I'm sure you have something. Go to those groups and say, hey, I think, can we build a little community? 10 houses, that's all we need. Start small. Call McPherson Housing Coalition. We'd love to come and talk to you or to tell you how to do this.
Yeah.
We can give you our experiences, which may be a little different than yours. I mean, we had the faith community come in and build our whole village.
Yeah.
And then we had our local businesses come in and give us money and supplies.
Yeah.
It was a community effort. And this is the other thing, is when it's a community effort, people have a buy-in.
Yeah.
If you start trying to put in 300 houses and don't care what anybody thinks, like, I mostly care what people think. Sometimes it doesn't come across that way. But by getting more in, I mean, what I saw happen here was, because we had community support, after we started building, people were afraid to say anything bad, because other people are like, wait a minute, this is a really cool project. Do you know anything about it? Are you just talking to hear your head rattle? Or do you really understand what they're doing? They're building something that's affordable. They make people be accountable for their actions. We don't let them move in and lay on the couch. I mean, they have to work. They have a program and they have to work it. And we watched the project. We've had a few little incidents, so we handled right away, and it wasn't a problem at all. So start small. If you're like me, or like this big dreamer and everything's got to be big and whatever, but if you can start small and build 10, just build 10.
And find partners.
Yes.
Find partners to stand with you, to work beside you. Because honestly, all the meetings and everything that has to be done, it's tiring. But you work together with partners, you find other people to collaborate with, and you just keep moving forward. You can't stop. We have to keep going.
So what's our call to action?
Well, if you're listening to this podcast, thank you very much. But you need to ask yourself, what's the cost of doing nothing where you live? And what might be gained by finally choosing to act?
Yes, and share this episode with your city leaders, county leaders, state and federal officials, anybody that you can think of.
Your church body.
Everybody. Share this episode. Call McPherson Housing Coalition. Talk to us. We would love to have you connect to some of our families to tell you the results that they had, the life-changing experiences that they've all had, and how they're now successful. I mean, we have a 75% success rate, which is unheard of in this field that we do, and it's because of not only offering housing, but also because of the support services. That's really it.
Yeah.
And they know that people in our community care about them.
Exactly.
So that already adds this really cool level that they know people care and want to help them. So anyways, we wanted to talk to you about this today because this is a call to action to all of us. We are responsible for our communities. We all live here. We all want to be part of where we live, and we care about our neighbors. So there you go.
I love my community. I don't want to see it go down. I want to see it prosper. I want to see everybody that lives here have an amazing life and be doing and living where you want. And we're going to have to all work together to make it happen. So we all have a role. And together, we can build housing for good.
Yes, we can.
So thank you for listening today. If you have an idea for a guest, if you want to be a part of the conversation and come in and talk with us, maybe you agree with this, maybe you don't. That's okay. We still love to hear from you. Drop us a line, leave us a review at housingforgood@mcphersonhc.org.
And have a great day.